Hey, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Seth Miranda, and I'm a pro photographer right here in New York City. You may have seen me on some other channels like Adorama TV, but I also have a Twitch channel where I invite some colleagues and peers and other photographers and just people I think have valuable information and just have a good time live on my Twitch channel. So if you want to join the chat and ask us questions right there on the spot and be part of the conversation, join us at twitch.tv/lastxwitness. But for now, just enjoy this chat. I'll see you later. So what's up, Robbie Keane? What's up, Nicole Martin? Everyone, this is someone who's super special, by the way, and blue is totally her color. So I made this all happen for her. But this is someone that not only do I find like one of the coolest people I've ever met in my life that I'm very connected to, but she also professionally knows what she's doing. She was the editor of Tricycle magazine, which I had the cover of a few times, spreads that Buddhist monk that I shot that was drag queen as well was because she hired me to do it. And lo and behold, here she is, the one and only Emma V. I didn't know how you wanted to be known as.
Emma V is fine.
Emma V is fine. I know you go by Emma Alexandra for some things, and I don't know. So
no, this is a professional context, so you can use my last name.
My professional. Oh yeah, okay, so professional. Yeah. Oh, what's going on? Records, Photo G, Robbie, JDM. Custos, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much. I don't know what you're watching this on, Emma, but if you went to my Twitch channel, you can actually watch the chat live. I don't know if you're on like a computer or not.
Okay, I'm just on Zoom. I don't know. I have no idea how to use Twitch.
No but idea. Are you on a computer?
Yeah.
Yeah, just go to twitch.tv/lastxwitness and you'll see it there. Just pause the video and the chat will feed.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, Bryn is in here. You know Bryn. Bryn's in the chat. And if you guys think that Emma looks a little familiar, that's because you've totally seen shots I've taken of her because she's also a pole fitness instructor. So,
okay. Do I start watching on Twitch or do I keep it on Zoom?
No, stay on Zoom, but you can actually like just pause the video and then just make the window next to this window. You can do it. I have faith in you. I have faith in the Emma.
You're lucky I'm not on here to talk about how to use freaking social media.
No.
Wait, so I'm hitting start watching. Oh God.
Yeah, just hit pause. Atta girl. All right. So taking a break from studying for final exams. Oh, well, welcome. So yeah, I wanted to bring you guys some other people other than just other photographers, and Emma's totally the other side of things. She's hired me for numerous things. She's been in the publishing I don't know what space or industry, or how would you put it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the media industry, specifically magazines and online media for, oh my God, almost a decade now.
Crazy.
You were saying I was the executive editor of Tricycle, the Buddhist Review. It's a Buddhist magazine. And I'm the director of a nonprofit media startup now that hasn't launched yet. So people can't find it yet, but we will.
This is totally Emma, by the way. So you have seen her before.
Not me. Unrelated.
Come on, that was one of the best shots ever. Come on, man. No, we had a whole soup. It was crazy snowing out. We were there. We had nothing to do. It was nice and quiet. It was just us. You had that crazy skirt that like went at a different speed of you. I think that was one of the best ever. I mean, I had a great time with that. I was stressed out of my mind when we were doing it, but yeah.
I should say that Seth has taken the best photos of me that have ever been taken.
Oh, shut up.
It's true.
Meanwhile, she'll use other people's photos for her avatar all the time, but I'm just going to leave that alone.
Oh my God. I didn't know that you were like secretly like having an issue with that in the background.
No, it's whatever. It's whatever. I'm just glad. Well, let's put it this way. I never would have shot pole ever if we didn't meet. I never would have gotten back into shooting action. Like when you met me, I was hardcore studio, very stagnant makeup shoots and everything. And then you're like, let's shoot pole. And I was like, all right. So I had to like take the rust off of my action shot gears. I remember when we took that first of all, we were getting set up. She's like, kind of like, whatever. And then when I took that first shot, you're like, okay, we got to go. Let's do this now. And she's like getting all demanding and yelling at me. And I'm like, okay.
I didn't really quite get how good you were. So I was kind of like, all right, whatever. And then you showed me that first one. I was like, oh, okay. I see what you're doing here. Like, I understand what we are dealing with. Also, because you're trying to describe to me what kind of shot you're going to do. And I just like, I don't speak visually that well. So I was just like,
You don't, which I think is a good point. She really doesn't speak visually at all, yet she was hiring photographers. And when I would say like, I'll do it this way, I'll do it like that, you couldn't get past like the first sentence without showing her a visual aid because she would not listen. She would listen, but I don't think she could actually visualize what you were saying as a photographer. So that's part of it, right? Like, what do you look for when you're hiring a photographer? Is it about the job and pairing it with the right photographer, or do you see a photographer and you like, how do you work?
I mean, definitely, if we have a specific job that requires a certain kind of look, it could be the case that we'll like think of a photographer that we know, like, okay, like their sort of like tone matches with this. But a lot of the time for us, it was location dependent because we would have certain shoots that would need to be set up where we're shooting people who are in, Peru, they were in Hawaii, or they were just in Philadelphia, and we would need to find somebody local. And somebody who could handle the assignment, which often was more important to me that like this person could be professional than like what they're able to do in terms of like their style, their tone, like that kind of thing.
Because they're representing you guys when they're there by themselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They're there by themselves. Some people, having dealt with a ton of photographers in different places over 10 years, some people don't know how to communicate when things are going poorly. They don't know when to times like pick up the phone, let us know that like some shit is going down. And some people just are able to handle a job better than others. And that was definitely just as important as like sometimes even the photos that were up on their website or something like that.
Yeah, I think I remember, well, first of all, we've been actually kind of working together for a few years. So I've actually seen a lot of stuff that you've put together, both like together and from other photographers. And you've hired people basically just in trust. I've seen you hire people just because you saw something they did, someone vouched, and you said, okay, here, do the job. And I remember one time someone came back with like work you weren't satisfactory with, and you felt so much weight on yourself about that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that particular time you're thinking about was somebody who was definitely sort of untried in the photography world. They were kind of like the like hot thing, and it was a situation where they had some really, really beautiful photography up on their website. They did not have a lot of assignment photography up on the website, so like there was not particular evidence that people had given them a job and they had delivered for that job. It was more so that like they had a creative spirit. They were very good at taking photos, but sometimes it's not the same thing as delivering on a job. So yeah, we tried her. It did not work out. Actually, it was a complete disaster. And it was that's only happened maybe twice in the entire time that I've been assigning photographers. So yeah, like I definitely felt it because we felt like we had kind of gone out on a limb for her. And it didn't work.
Yeah, I'm putting some stuff in it because I hate like no ambient, Yeah, I just remember when you like on a personal level, we talked about it and you just seemed crushed about it. Like you felt like it was amazing how you didn't look at them as much as you looked at yourself in that moment. And I was like, it's their responsibility to perform.
Yes. I mean, it's definitely the photographer's responsibility to perform for sure. But I also felt like it was my judgment to, like, I knew that I was taking a risk when we made the call to hire her, because I knew that she was untested. And I felt like I had made the wrong call because I did make the wrong call. I still paid her because it just didn't feel right to me not to pay her. And
which doesn't always happen, by the way.
Which doesn't always happen. Yeah, we're pretty. I mean, I'm not there anymore, but they are like very ethical over there at Tricycle. But for sure, like at different places, if you had delivered photos that were unusable, which was the case, there are a lot of people that would not pay you.
No, for sure. And you've also been like harassed by people like trying to get a job or talk to you or email, send you 10,000 of the same cold email as a template. Like these aren't the way you build relationships, really.
Yeah, and a lot of people cold email kind of like uncritically or kind of like without a good strategy. They just sort of cold email
Yeah.
like, here are my photos of something that like I would never publish or like in a style that I would never publish. They haven't actually looked at the magazine. They haven't looked at what you do online. They haven't actually looked at things that you assign. So when someone, you can tell that they've done their homework, it like really makes a big difference. And if someone even has gone to the effort of seeing who your art director is or your photo editor or the top editor on the masthead, like that makes a huge difference. So
Yeah, absolutely. There's a bunch of questions popping up in the chat, which is awesome. Ab, who by the way is one of the sickest photographers and lighting masters in the world, is asking, are you a producer, more of a photo editor, or are you an art buyer? What would you really classify yourself as?
yeah, so I'm an editor. So I really like my area of expertise is really writing and editing because the magazine that I was working for was so small. I worked really closely with the art director and the photo editor there. And I was like intimately involved in the production of the magazine, which was quarterly. So I got like definitely a education in assigning photography and assigning illustration, dealing with photographers and illustrators. But by trade, I'm an editor.
Um, Before I go into some more questions from you guys, I really wanted to bring this one up. And Emma's probably going to be like, oh my God, that was forever ago. But I wanted to bring this one up. Do you remember you gave me a call and you're like, I need these shot in like an hour. And you came by Adorama. And at Adorama, me and Dan were sitting there and we're like, okay, what do we have just around us that we can piece together and get this shot for you? So this is Emma in the background, totally over my shoulder. Look at me like trying to figure out what the hell she wants.
Something to add here too is that we came to you after we had tried to get this shot from someone else, and it just like did not turn out. And that was part of the reason why I was like, Seth, you know, like at that time I was working basically like down the street from you. So someone had already like not been able to do it.
Oh boy, I just screwed this up. Yeah, and when you told me that, I was like, what can I do in the next half hour for Emma? She literally walked down the block with these like crazy little Buddhas. So this is how crazy it got. I got Dan Norton putting a Mevo in my face, using a microphone to hold down this acetate to give a reflected floor, using a large softbox, and using pieces of paper and flags to get the detail out of the face. Because I remember the face, they were gone.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they're like cheap plastic figurines, so it's like not exactly the easiest thing to get a good shot of.
No, I just thought this was amazing. And this is what happens when, see, look, I remember I just held up this piece of paper to bounce more light in. And this is how serious we took it. I don't even know if that was my camera. I think I took that camera off of display at Adorama. That's definitely Daniel's trigger. That's why it has the green tape on it. Emma's over my shoulder. And as she's seeing stuff, she's directing what she wants. She's like, no, put the yellow one on the other side, put the red one this way. And in the end, she got what she needed. But she also pulled me out of a card out of her deck because she knew I was local. We worked together before, and I guess she was happy with what we did, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I knew also that you could deliver, which is huge. And like I said, we were at that time, like the article that was for, it's called the 3-moment method, which is why there are 3 Buddhas. We had a layout that wasn't working. We had tried to get another shot that didn't work. And I just was like, I know that you can like get this done. And that layout turned out really well. I wish I had it here, but I don't.
Yeah, it did work out pretty well. The cover I shot for you, I should have pulled it out before we went live, but the white Buddha was one of my like favorite tabletop shots I probably did. It was really hard.
That was a good one.
Is it online somewhere? Can I pull it up somewhere?
Yeah. Hold on. I can.
If you want to screen share it, go for it. In the chat, PhotoG is asking, how does proof of concept play with finding or trusting photographers?
I don't know if I totally understand the question.
So we usually talk about proof of concept, meaning instead of going to cold call and be like, hey, I can shoot awesome portraits for you. But if I didn't come to you showing you a bunch of portraits I've shot, I'm guessing you totally need that proof of concept to see that they can produce what they're saying they can produce.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't think I would ever hire somebody who I wasn't able to see on their website that they're able to do what I'm asking them to do. Even if it was for a smaller publication or something local, if they haven't done it, I don't want to say that they haven't done it before, but if they haven't at least done something similar or been on assignment, like, I mean, unless I know you personally and I just know that you're like insanely talented, it's not going to happen. And this
Yeah,
is
but
the thing too, Seth, that you were surprised. I was like, I want to hire people without websites. And you're like, what?
oh yeah.
I was like, no, I won't do it. I won't hire someone off of Instagram. I just won't do it.
But she also wouldn't hire me off the bat too. She had to. I kept on like going like, hey, like if you ever need somebody, I'm around. I'm around. She didn't hire me until that Kodo shoot came around where he wanted to be shot for makeup, and you were like, okay, well I've seen you shoot makeup. I'll give you a shot at this.
That was the first time that you shot for us, really?
That was the gateway in, yeah. Because after I did that, you were like, oh, can you take care of this? Can you do this headshot of this guy really fast? Can you do? Remember that?
Yeah,
That crazy guy you had me do the headshot of.
Wait, what crazy guy?
The crazy guy. He came to Adorama and brought me like this giant scroll to hang up, and he stood in front of it. He was that weird doctor guy that had like he sent you a video. Yeah, I didn't want to bring up the video.
Yeah. I sent
But you waited.
Hmm?
You totally waited till you thought you had something I actually fit before you gave me the rest of the work that we got.
Yeah, that's true. Because I hadn't seen you do, like, we ended up doing a lot of like sort of like I don't know what the correct terms are because I'm not a photo person, like still life or like object photography, whatever that's properly called. And it turned out really well. But like you said, like because I knew you did makeup and we had this guy who was a makeup artist and Buddhist priest. That was the
I actually showed them that picture. I have it right here actually. I pulled them up because of that whole thing that I went through with them. Let me see if I can share it. Oh, you gave me the chat. Oh, cool. So yeah, this is the cover that I shot for. Was this the first cover I shot for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh wow, it looks so different. Hold on, let me maximize it and then share it. There's other questions in the chat. I don't know if you want to take a look at it, but I'm going to.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay, so this was the cover I shot for her. It actually was like a really nice cover. I thought it was great. I shot it all with speed lights, and what you're not seeing here is that this is like a blue tone around it because it was white. I don't know what it was, white marble. I don't know what it was, but it was really hard to get detail.
That's a really nice cover. I'm looking at it again. I'm like, this is very beautiful.
It was hard, man. To get detail out of these subtle face features was so tough, and it was this big. It was probably like that big, maybe.
Oh, it says it there's side it's porcelain. Yeah, it was like it's a figurine.
Yeah, that was a cool one. I'll put this link in the chat if you guys want to munch on it. Let me get out of screen share.
You can read me the question, Seth, because I don't know.
I know. Everything with Emma is nope. It's technical. I'm not touching it. Custos is asking, when you're evaluating someone's work with the assignment in mind, what kinds of things do you prioritize? Oh, hey, Vanessa.
What kind of things do I prioritize? I mean, for us, it was important that people's work didn't look too commercial. We really we did not like using photography that looked stocky. So if you didn't have sort of like a personal kind of mark on your work, we were not apt to do something with you. Like I was saying before, that you had done assignments before, so there's definitely a difference between shooting photos that you find to be creatively inspiring or nourishing versus like someone telling you like, this is the list of shots that I need, and you showing that you're able to do that. Other things, I mean, once I'm past somebody's website and I'm actually in communication for them, there's a huge prioritization for me that they were able to communicate well. That was another thing that like anytime that I ended up with a bad shoot, there were always flags in their communication beforehand. And I have pulled shoots away from people if the person wasn't responsive, if they didn't email me or communicate with me in a professional manner. I think sometimes photographers kind of forget that like, even if your work is brilliant, if you're difficult or you don't respond, like that's maybe more than half of it.
Yeah. If you create friction, why would they want to deal with you? I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah, create friction or just like don't communicate professionally. Like you can't just not respond to someone for 3 days on a magazine assignment, you know?
Yeah, it's true. I'm going to share the Kodo pictures really quick. This was the first shoot that she hired me for. I told you guys about this because it ended up in another newspaper that I didn't know about. So it was just getting circulated. But this was Kodo, and this was also Kodo. So it was this monk that also was a drag queen. And it was a really crazy shoot in the studio. I remember that day because he brought in someone else that did the makeup, and there was like babies crying. This woman brought her kids. Remember that whole thing, Emma?
I don't think I was there. I think that I left you alone with that.
Yeah, I mean, I shot him in plenty of different ways, and it was really this like diptych that they ended up taking. But I thought they were going to end up doing something like this that I put together, but it was all right out of camera, and this is really what I shot for the first time. And I think how many times has this photo been circulated now? It's been like in how many different times has he hit me up?
A ton, and it was on what is that called now? Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, but it's just Queer Eye now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted it for that because they saw him in the magazine, and it's been in a ton of things in Japan too.
Yeah, and it all happened from like a day rate that Emma took a chance on me to do. So, when she hit me up for it, I treated it like it was super important because to Emma, it's a spot in her magazine. It was a 2-page spread, I think, easily.
It was a 2-page interview spread, and we ran that almost because the photo was so good. We ran that almost full page, the diptych, I believe. Yeah,
it was awesome. It was great, and I think I've gotten like little chips of money here and there from it, like $100, $200 when it's been printed other places. But it goes to show you that like if someone came to me and was like, "What do you want to shoot?" I don't think I'd ever be like, "Let me get me a monk that's a drag queen." I think that one will be the one that goes forever. You don't know what people are going to latch into, need, and do whatever,
Oh yeah, and that actually reminds me of the last question too, that I should also add that someone's versatility is important too. If you have like just one kind of shot up on your website or like one thing, it's just like, okay, I know I can hire you for that one thing, but.
Do you mean genre or style though?
Do I mean genre or style? I mean, genre is hard because I know that like not everyone is going to be going across genres all the time. You do want somebody with style, like you want them to have a particular point of view. You don't want it to be so stylistic that like the photo takes over the whole layout.
Yeah,
that can definitely be overdone. But versatility, right? In terms of just like you're able to handle more than one thing.
Yeah, and I think it goes to say that like you're constantly representing them when they put you in front of something. If they have someone or something in front of your lens, you're responsible for that object to come back in one piece. You've given me like priceless statues from all over the world. These people are trusting that they hired the right people to do the job. So if Kodo came to my place and I was like homophobic or something, like that would be a huge issue. You know what I mean? Like you have to realize you're now under the umbrella of this publication.
Yeah, and also like because we're dealing a lot with Buddhist teachers in particular, they tend to be camera shy. I mean, they're not usually people who are out in front of a camera. So like making sure that we hire someone who knows how to get somebody comfortable. I remember we had this one shoot where we were supposed to shoot this teacher, and his wife had like a huge problem with him being on camera, and we didn't know about it. And the photographer like called us in the middle of the shoot. It was like, I just want you guys to know, like, the wife is here. She like really does not like what's going on, and this is how I'm dealing with it, kind of thing. But I was really happy she called because it helped manage the expectation. And then like we knew like when we got the shots, they were fine, but we also knew the backstory of like what was going on behind the scenes. And it was impressive that she was able to get the stuff that she got considering the circumstances.
Yeah, and I'll say as far as editors that I've dealt with over the years, like Emma is probably the most docile. I mean, it takes a lot for her to get kind of riled up and like say, put her foot down about something. But when she wants something, she knows that she wants it, and you got to keep on working. And sometimes Emma's not, or your photo editor in general just isn't communicating in a way that's clicking in your head to get a visual. I remember when we did those statues, you gave me like a ton of them, and you were like, well, let's go buy paper. And we just weren't really on the same page with what we were doing. So I just shot everything. I mean, how many days was I in the studio hammering out nonstop tabletop for that series that you wanted, including goldfish inside of a glass head, which never got used. That photo never got used. And it was one of the coolest shots. It was such a good photo. And I scared the hell out of those fish, and you adopted them.
I did, and then they all died. I know.
You had one job.
I know. That was actually, yeah. I didn't think about those poor fish after I was like, yeah, let's get the photo. And then I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with these fish? So
I thought it was so cool. It was this glass Buddha head that they used to put over lamps in Nepal. And so I filled it with water. I filled it with goldfish. I taped it and then tipped it right side up again, and then shot lights from the back and reflected lights forward and put black on both sides. I don't even know where those photos are. I should really dig them out, but oh my God. I thought they were so cool. And I felt so bad for those fish dealing with these flashes coming at them like aliens trying to abduct them. And then you guys never ran it.
I know. I think that they're like buried in their server somewhere now. So
it's so sad.
Get your hopes
so
up.
Sad. I'm actually trying to find this Polaroid that I've shown like 1,000 times on here. When I shot that red Buddha head on the grate for you.
Oh yeah. That was the other thing that was interesting too, is that like once we knew that we could trust you to do a lot of different things, then you were able to sort of like take creative charge and come to us with ideas. Because you definitely like had ideas that, you know, we would never have particularly thought of.
Well, that's the thing, is you kind of have to know what your client would want, and they couldn't know what you're capable of, or what is even, like, I was doing Polaroid transfers. Actually, I have a video of that too. We were doing Polaroid transfers late at night. Oh, actually, I have a video of, that's right. Hang on a second. I'll pull it up. I have the video of that shoot. Here we go. Daniel Norton, blah, blah, blah. And yep. Wow. Dan's hair is so long in this. Oh my God. You ready for this? This is like vintage Daniel. Hold on. Look at this guy. So this had to have been 1:30, 2 a.m. And I was like losing my mind. We were using my large format with super expired film. And we had this Buddha head sitting on this crazy precarious grate setup. But it came out like a really cool photo. I don't know if we showed what the photos looked like, but I was doing all these Polaroid transfers, right? And that was straight out of camera. I gave these to Emma, and I gave her the negative. Remember that? The negative?
Yeah.
And I never got that negative back, but look at how crazy this setup was. All Speedotron lights that were crazy freaking powerful. This was a good one. I'm going to put this in the chat. You guys can watch it later. Let me get this, Control-C.
And that was you didn't use. It was cool though.
It was, yeah, you didn't use it. I totally thought that was going to be a cover. I was like, yeah, I got another cover coming. Hell yeah.
I mean, that's something too I feel that people probably don't think about, is that if it's not a photography magazine, if it's an editorial based magazine, the photos have to have a purpose. And so that was sometimes what would happen, is that like we would have really cool photos that you gave us, but unless they were matched with an article, unless it made sense editorially, we couldn't necessarily use them. But it was really nice to have a bank of stuff where, like, you know, we had a commission shot rather than having to pull from stock.
Well, that's why you kept hiring me. You were like, we need just plug and play photos for when we need them. So it wasn't like I got paid per shot. You were like, we have this much money. We want a full day of you just banging through a ton of statues we give you. I mean, you gave me boxes and boxes of things that I'm like, oh man, please don't let me break these. I was so nervous with all those freaking heads.
Yeah, and some of them were like personal icons of some of the employees too.
We found some at the flea market. Remember, we found the neon pink one and the neon green one, and that ended up being a cover.
Yeah, it was funny. The ones that are kind of like cheap and sort of like silly were the ones that we ended up using, probably because they were so colorful. The pink cover was nice too.
I have that sitting over there somewhere, that cover. I know I have these covers everywhere. I know they're, I'm not even gonna look.
I'll send the link in the chat.
So Kate Photo is saying, I've been trying to land an editorial assignment besides being able to work with a photographer professionalism. But how do you find a photographer that will fit the style of the magazine? Do you get cold called? We kind of covered that, right? Like you get cold called all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we did get cold called. I mean, not actually called, just because of the day and age, but cold emails a lot. Yeah, we did talk a little bit about this before. If you're going to cold email someone, I have picked up both writers and photographers from cold emails. But if you're going to do that, do it strategically, do your homework, look up the right people to be writing to, send them things that would, like, it's not just about like you think that this is the best photo you've ever taken or just like here's my website. Show that you know what kind of departments the magazine has, what kind of feature articles they have, what in your work do you think is going to be a good fit. We're a Buddhist magazine. We had people sending us, like, we would be deluged with people sending us photos of famous Buddhas in Buddhist countries, because there's a lot that are like carved into rock faces and blah, blah, blah. That kind of photo you can get on stock anywhere. Like, what's interesting to us is something that you can't find on stock, or because we did a lot of shoots that were like a day in the life of Buddhist teachers, we were interested in people that could show sort of like the emotion of somebody in their daily life. And that was a particular department that we ran all the time. And no one ever cold emailed me about that, even though it's a thing that we were commissioning literally every magazine. So do your homework. I will say there is a lot of personal networking going on, especially with our photo editor. So I hate to be the person that says network with your community, but network with your community, because it really does make a huge difference. And, you know, the way we started working with Seth too is that like we met personally, and then we were like, yeah, let's like try these like dance photos, and like it built from there. So you don't always know where things are going to end up. Just because you don't see the direct path from A to B, that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't get hired for something down the line. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. And I should add that, like, there were times where Emma would just be like at the studio for a second and she'd be like, I need a quick headshot because I'm doing this thing. And I didn't say like, no, I don't have the time. I think I took 5 minutes to set up a white background and nailed a few shots for her, and she was ready to go. And stuff like that sticks. It goes forward. It's just like, just do it. Don't keep on wondering, how much can I get? What's the rate? I don't have this much time. You know, figure out a way, because you giving them something is better than walking out of your studio with nothing. It goes a long way.
That's true. I mean, I feel like you're particularly generous that way. And I do think that people get themselves into trouble sometimes when they're just starting out. And sometimes people get advice like, put your rates, like, you know, at what you deserve. And it's kind of like, well, you're just starting out. Like, people aren't going to pay you that, you know, like you kind of have to build yourself from the ground up. Not that you should be giving away work for free all the time. Don't do that. But also, like, if you're just starting out too, like, you know, you might have your eye on, you know, something big. You're not going to get there first thing. Go small, like, or do something that's interesting to you, your local community, your hobbies. Patch.com. Go small, because once you like show people that like I can do assignment photography, you have something to send to someone larger. It's like little steps.
So this is the magazine cover that I got with this pink Buddha head that was cheap. I think it was like 10, 15 bucks from
it was from the Union Square like Christmas market area.
Right. But if you look at this and then you look at this, I basically did the same setup real fast and it worked again. Except this one was way harder. I'm not going to lie. Like, this thing was a quarter of the size and white. And this thing was neon pink, which actually was really hard to get the details out of the face, because there's no definition there. It was just ridiculous. But it also was made horrible. Remember, it was all crooked.
I was gonna say, remember it was uneven. I think you put like a quarter in there or something.
Yeah. Actually, I think there's something in there. Or do you remember that one Buddha that was like amber, and you made me suck its cheeks in post?
Oh yeah, that was another cool one that didn't get published.
We thought that was going to be a fall cover. Remember, I made it look like it was leaves and stuff, and
Yeah.
that went nowhere. So you'll pour yourself into these shots, and they might not go anywhere. You'll still get paid, but don't freak out if no one sees these images. Sometimes it's just the name of the game.
Yeah, that is very true. I actually I haven't had the personal experience of someone being really upset that we haven't published something.
Except goldfish.
Yeah, except for Seth about the goldfish. But I could definitely see a world where that could happen. Like, don't irritate people. If they paid you,
You did it.
it's done.
You did it. Yeah, you did it. It's not about the publication.
Yeah.
It's about you performed a service, and what they want to do with those images, they can do. What I thought was going to happen, to be honest, Emma, was I thought you guys were going to bleed the stuff you didn't use into social.
Well, I have to say, there were a bunch of shots that didn't make it into print that I was like, there's no point for us not to use these. Like, use these on the web. Just because the way things work there editorially, things got a little siloed. I think that there were some images that should have been used at some point that weren't. But I'm not there anymore, so.
I know. I haven't shot there ever again. So it goes to show you that a lot of times when you say you work for a magazine, it's like you're working for 5 minutes, because wherever Emma goes, she might put me into that kind of spot if she sees an opening for me. I won't probably work with the photo editor at the magazine, but I'll probably stick with Emma where she goes. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, I think even at the other magazines I worked for, everyone shifts around. Editors don't stay at specific magazines. They just stay in that industry as an editor. So you're got to be flexible on that as well. You know, Chris Wansbury is asking, when I was writing music, I had someone tell me that they wanted something green. What does that mean in sound? Okay. That's kind of like what happens. You told me stuff 20 times. I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying to me. And I'll say something to you that makes sense, and it doesn't make any sense to you.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I don't know what something means in sound for it to be green, but I can say that sometimes, I mean, if you are given an assignment, like, make sure you understand what they expect you to deliver. Like, make sure you understand what your common vision is. I mean, even between me and my photo editor, sometimes that happened with you, Seth, once, that I was not on the same page with our photo editor about what she was envisioning. So I told you a certain set of instructions. And then when the images came back, she was like, that's not what I was thinking of. And I was like, I had no idea.
Was it the glass ball one?
No, it was the ones with the sort of fabric-y paper behind them.
Yeah, that was like a whole day of paper and statues. There's had to have been like 20 statues, and shot them on 60 different papers.
There's a lot of paper.
But the one that killed me, the glass ball one, was the most hard shot ever. I mean, what a freaking nightmare.
Cool, yeah. But I will say though that saved a piece for us.
Really?
Yeah, because it was we're a magazine that was publishing a lot of abstract pieces, and this is kind of related to the green music question as well. We had a lot, if you're shooting for a beauty magazine, it's like you shoot a lipstick and the story is about lipstick and like you're done. It's not that hard to figure out what you're going to publish. Our particular magazine, there's a lot of pieces that were abstract, and it was about like devotional energy and guru yoga, and you're like, what kind of images? Nothing on stock for that. So I think one thing that you're really good at, Seth, is sort of translating that visually to get that like feeling of it, where you might not necessarily be able to explain exactly how the photo relates, but like somewhere beyond sort of explicit consciousness, you get it. You're like, oh, this works. I'm not really sure why, but it works.
Yeah, when that shoot with the ball, you were like, it's about existing on two planes of this and that. And I was like, holy shit. And then I was like, so I got to make a wet floor, an entire room into a black abyss with hanging lights. And then I had to suspend a crystal ball in the middle to get a reflection through the ball to flip upside down. I mean, that setup was insane.
I'm gonna find them.
That broke me in half. I thought I failed that shoot when I handed it over to you, and you were like, "This is great." I was like, "Holy shit, I got out of that one." Like,
Here, I'm sending you the link.
okay, I keep forgetting that one got published too. I have that somewhere.
To those shots, you were so obsessed. Like, these are so dope, and everyone in the magazine thought they were really cool too.
Because it wasn't what I was trying to do, I think, and I got obsessed with that part of it rather than. It was hard, man, and it was something that was super trendy. Oh my god, this shot. Okay, hold on. This fucking shot. I'm never gonna forget it for the rest of my life, and it's all in camera. And it was such a. Oh god, Emma, I hated this thing. It was.
But it saved my layout because we were having big layout problems for that article.
So I had to balance getting these lights, a soft bokeh, make it look wet, have the light hit this white statue, keep the detail, flip it, and then flip it back again. And it had to stay sharp. And then I kept doing this blue light everywhere because I was addicted to blue light. Did I do 2 of these? I did a whole set. There it is. Yeah, that's it. This was, and then I resorted to doing this because I was like, all right, I'm already doing the slow shutter, so let me make it look like an astral scene. Oh my God, this was so hard, man. Oh, that was such a hard shot. Oh God. What was this about again?
It's about Samaya, which is a sort of like vows that you take towards your teacher in a certain Buddhist tradition. Yeah, I shouldn't get more into it, but
okay.
Yeah, those are the kinds of things that we were trying to find art for, and it's like, aside from like traditional Buddhist paintings, you can only do that so many times. I mean, the magazine has been around now for almost 30 years, so we need some fresh stuff.
Yeah, well, it's funny because when people were telling me like, oh, I'm going to go shoot for this Buddhist magazine. I didn't think it was like a big thing. And then anyone I met that was even a hint of Buddhist was like, oh my God, I read that magazine all the time. I was like, what? And then it was at Barnes and Noble. And I was like, this is oddly probably one of the bigger publications that I've probably gotten a shot at for a cover. And it was so strange because in my head, I'm like, oh, all I care about is zombies and aliens and doing these crazy things. And meanwhile, this probably got more circulation than probably anything else I've done, really. I mean,
yeah, I mean, that's also the point about versatility too, right? Like I wouldn't have necessarily known from some of the stuff that I had seen you do, or even that's on your website, that you could do something like that. Like I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, this was so tough though, Emma. I'm never going to forget that day. I definitely took pictures of the setup because first of all, I was shooting it with prototype A1 flashes, which the chat knows what those are. They didn't exist yet. They gave them to me to borrow. That's how long ago the shot was. And I was like, I don't know. And that was the shoot that I decided to buy 5 of those lights because they performed so well and got me out of this ridiculously hard shot, which I made myself. I made it hard on myself. It could have been, you showed me something on Instagram and I'm like, yeah, I'll fucking do that. Whatever. And then I was like, then I realized a lot of that Instagram shot wasn't real. And
yeah. That's why I don't hire people off of Instagram. I don't hire people off of Instagram. I will not do it.
And it's very admirable. There was another question. Oh my God. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying not to neglect the chat, but me and Emma go like back pretty far. So Bryn says, do you have retouchers on your staff to use freelancers, or do the photographers retouch their own?
So we're small enough that we don't use retouchers. We rely on the photographers that we hire to do any editing on their stuff. Once those photos come to us, if there was something really basic that needed to be done, our art director would do it, but we didn't like go in and really retouch the way that you would do it like Vogue or something. So that was also important for us to hire photographers who knew how to edit properly and not over edit. That's the other thing.
Well, I told you that. I was like, I'm not going to edit anything. I told you that. I was like, it's going to be shown out.
We don't edit at all, which is unusual. I mean, most of the photographers that we hired, they would send us their whole batch of stuff. We would choose our selects and they would edit the selects, but it's not overdone editing ever.
Well, you do a lot of documentary stuff too.
Exactly. It was a lot of documentary stuff. So the definitely not too much editing, but we don't retouch. And that's, I mean, also because we don't do a lot of like close-ups of people's faces, or things that are like commonly like sort of heavily retouched.
Yeah. K Photo is actually saying, to be honest, I would probably ask the editor if they weren't happy with the photography. If it wasn't published, I'd be worried that I wouldn't get another job. I'd understand that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's a logical worry. Certainly if you were given an assignment for, I'm just using this department a lot because it's the thing that we were commissioning for at the time. It was something called Meet a Teacher. We had a teacher in mind for that section. It was like shots of their daily life. And certainly you would know if something went wrong if we published someone else's shots or didn't publish that at all. But if you're like, so Seth stuff that we commissioned, I was like, I just want a bank of images. And so if you understand what you're being hired for, are you being hired for a specific thing that has a publication date? It's slated to run at a certain date and that didn't get published? Yeah. Unless they tell you like editorially there is an issue, with the writing or the article, like it wasn't related to your photography at all. But if someone's hiring you just to like have images to have, which we did do with Seth a bunch, then definitely wouldn't take it personally. If you see that someone's photography was run instead of yours, yes.
Yeah, that's a flag. Did that girl you weren't happy with, when you had someone else shoot it, did you get called from her being like, what's up?
No, she knew she had fucked up. She knew.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't the case where she sent us something and she was like, I know these are great. She knew that it was a wreck. And there was one other shoot too that we had to ask the photographer to reshoot. And we probably would have hired someone else, but it was in like a remote place in Vermont.
Jesus.
We were like, okay, just like we'll have him reshoot. I should say though that we're a smaller publication. We were pretty communicative with our photographers. If something wasn't going to be run because there was an issue with the photo, we would communicate about that. And oftentimes, like because they were sending us so many photos, there's often like at least a few shots that would work, even if it was kind of a bad shoot overall. But a lot of the bigger magazines, I mean, they might not be communicative with you.
They're not at all.
They're not at all. And I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with like you get assigned to do something, you send it in, they pay you and they don't use it. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, hey, I just want to check in, make sure that like see if you had any feedback, let me know if it's going to run kind of thing. If they don't respond to you at that, just like leave it be. I mean,
Yeah, no, I think sometimes you can rupture a relationship even more just by, they don't have the time to deal with you or babysit you or hold your fucking hand.
Yeah.
Like you did the job or they didn't go with you, you'll get them next time, but stay in touch, drop a line every now and then, maybe be like, hey, I saw you guys run this article, it was pretty awesome. Or, hey, I have this idea that I'm thinking of in case you have something you'd want to use this for. Like, you can shop around. If you want to shoot something theme wise, tell them about it because they might have a story coming up in a few months that it could fit.
Yeah, it's true. And just like not taking things personally generally. Like I also dealt with a lot of illustrators and the ones who were sort of like good at getting consistent work would email me all the time with their stuff. Like, hey, I just did this, I just did that. Like my style is changing. I would almost never answer them just because I didn't have time, but it was totally fine to hear from them. They weren't pushing me. It's just like it keeps their name in the back of your head. So then when you're like, oh yeah, like that guy's style, that guy, he emails me all the time. I don't answer it, but I remember him.
Yeah, it's weird how things work, and to stay relevant, you just have to be present and you have to be out there constantly. I mean, look at how my makeup career started. I shot for someone 8 years prior, and they remembered some about me, and they were like, hey, I'm a makeup artist teacher now, a makeup teacher. Wow, I'm so tired right now. A makeup teacher now, like we could use a photographer, and that's what started. I haven't heard from her in almost a decade. So you just have to stay out there. Will Toft is asking, How does a photo editor or magazine editor want to be approached? I did a job for a long time where I had a big budget and grew to loathe pushy people who just wanted to meet with me.
Yeah, I mean, one of my biggest pet peeves were people who would email me and ask to have a coffee, like just to like meet me. I'm like, what?
Nope.
No,
I would
no.
not like to have an awkward professional date. Thank you.
Like, I do not have time for that. There is nothing wrong with a gentle email being like, this is my website. I've seen, these photos that you've run, and I think that mine are in line. I have some photography on my website that I saw would match X, Y, and Z. Like, take a look. There's nothing wrong with like that sort of gentle approach. Do it, like I've said a bunch of times, do it in a smart way to show that you've actually read the magazine or actually visited us online. Don't just be like, hi, I'm a photographer in New York. Here's my website. Like, I don't care. Okay. I'm being too harsh. It's true though. Like, I didn't have time then. I had no time. It wasn't only I was doing photographers, I was doing illustrators, I was doing writers. Like
I don't think people realize how many balls you're juggling, to be honest. Like, a photographer that's kind of newish thinks that you're just sitting there receiving an email and you'll respond, but they don't realize you've had 16 stories you're editing. You're trying to figure out placements. You're trying to figure out the next thing. You're worried about distribution of the last thing.
Yeah.
You have a networking event coming up. There's a whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if you are at an event and you know that a photo editor is going to be there, by all means be like, hey, I'm whoever, it's nice to meet you. Like, I saw that you're the photo editor for Tricycle. Like, I really like that magazine. Like, if you ever need me, here's my card. Present, but not annoying, I feel like would be the tagline. Present, right. Not annoying. Don't be
people have to want your card. Yeah, no, people have to want your card. I feel like people get a set of business cards made and they hand them out like, everyone I give this to, it's amazing. And it's like, no, you have to start a relationship, and the card is what you leave them with.
Yeah.
You don't just hand them a card and all of a sudden you're connected. It's like, where's that logic?
Yeah.
Bryn actually wants to know, do your photographers work alone for your assignments, or do you have someone from your team overseeing the shoots when possible?
So it was a mix. The places that were far away from New York, obviously none of us were able to go. Bigger magazines with bigger budgets. I mean, actually these days are it doesn't happen so much, but they might have their team go out to a location. There were tons of times that we were shooting in Africa, in Europe. Like, we certainly were not going to go overseas. So there are definitely a ton of times that photographers were shooting alone. They needed to handle the subject and all.
Did I lose you? Am I losing you?
Am I here?
Emma? Okay, you're back.
Okay, where did I get cut off?
There's plenty of times. That's what you said last.
There's plenty of time. There were plenty of times that the photographers were alone, handling the subject alone. And I wasn't, me or our photo editor weren't there to oversee and making sure that we were getting those shots. So a lot of trust. If there were shoots happening in New York or nearby, it was always kind of fun for us to go, not to like hang over people's shoulders, but just to be there and like make sure the shot that we wanted was being gotten. If it was something that was super last minute, like we were talking about with those colorful Buddhas, like that's something that I would come and like, that was also a case where the layout had already been pretty much set up. And I was like, I need this exact thing,
Yeah.
So a lot of the time it's photographers by themselves. Again, like they're just people didn't have time either to like go and oversee a shoot.
No, you got hired. Like, do it. I mean, I've never been hired by someone that felt like they had to babysit me after they hired me. And I've heard stories of photo editors, you must have been bored out of your mind to go and sit at a studio when you got to have a whole magazine to worry about or whatever. I don't know. I think it's that's part of being professionals, that you're able to handle it without being coddled, kind of,
Yeah, definitely not coddled. And definitely like, again, there's this fine balance between like, don't bother me, like, unless like you should really bother me. Like if there's really something going on in the shoot that I need to know about, like I want to be bothered, but like you need to know like what that like where that line is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there was just a few times I think when you come by the studio after I've already shot like a ton of things and you're like, oh, I would rather like this with this. I mean, that's like a taste thing. Like you can't dictate taste sometimes. So, you know, you were definitely like, I want this background with this statue or whatever. And that's when we got into some like murky issues. I think I had to reshoot something or whatever, but it was not a big deal.
I think also too that sometimes photographers forget that your consideration of what a good photo is not always the same as a photo that's going to be workable for us. Like that was something that we talked about a lot, Seth, with the covers, is that I think, you know, when you were like, oh, like that grid shot, we thought it was going to be a cover. I was like, we can't do it because there's this grid here and I can't put cover lines on a grid because the text isn't going to read off of the photo.
Oh, the projector shot. Is that what you were asking about? Like,
no, I was talking about the one with the red Buddha head with a grid that you showed earlier.
oh yeah, I love that. Damn it, I love that shot, man. I think that was like such a Slayer shot.
It's a great shot, but I think sometimes people don't think about like, oh, like, you know, I have to put cover lines on that. If you can't read the cover line, I can't use that as a cover shot.
That's true.
So that's
the one that I remember we fought about was the green Buddha head, and I projected the binary code on it.
Yeah.
I made it look like the Matrix was going up and down this thing because you're trying to do something about technology and Buddhism, and I was like, this is perfect, and you were like, yeah, my editor hates this. Like, I'm like, I was so sure that was like a slam dunk. I was like all on that one.
Yeah, and that is something where like taste came into it. Like there's something wrong with that photo. Like it was a fine photo. But yeah, my boss was just like, I don't like it. You know, and sometimes that happens. Like, you know, he didn't give an explanation. I still to this day couldn't tell you why he didn't like it. He was just like, I don't like it.
I could tell you why he didn't like it. I won't hear just in case they want to hire me for something one day, but that was it. Wow, we just did an hour pretty quickly. Jesus Christ. Anything you want to get into, or you anything you would want photographers to know that you think that we don't know?
Yeah, I mean something I've already said. Definitely, like I think
get over yourselves.
I mean, also just being professional and communicative is huge. Like I'd almost rather hire a worse photographer who is professional and communicative than a really good photographer who is not professional and communicative. Think about like where it's being printed and like how it's going to be placed, because I feel like people don't think about that a whole lot. Is it going online or in print? Do you even know? And what else do I wish that photographers knew? Yeah, it's not about
this is your chance.
Most of the time,
it's your chance.
It's not about you. I'm sorry. Like we appreciate the work that you do, but like I just need you to get me what I need.
No, I get it, because sometimes we're like, oh, it'd be amazing if we did this whole thing to it. And yeah, photographically, maybe that makes you look cool or skilled or whatever. But all it does is distract from what you're trying to shoot, like your subject distracts from your actual subject. It's not about the photo. You're just there to get the photo to a good place. And I think people forget that easily.
Yeah, and definitely too, just like understanding the difference between a magazine that's editorially based and a magazine that's photography based. There are tons of magazines where like the photo is the thing, like, you know, and that's super awesome. For us, it was like this sort of like a nice surprise when the photo was the thing. And sometimes the photo like really needed not to be the thing.
Yeah. K Photo wants to know, what's the level of resolution that you need in magazine images? And he says, I know that's super basic.
So for print, we always ask for 300 DPI at 8 inches across. So that was our like basic, like, we definitely were sourcing imagery sometimes from authors who like had no idea how to do anything like that. So that was always our basic, like 300 DPI at 8 inches.
But you also, it's been so long, but I think I asked you your profile and I was like, you were like, what? And it's like, yeah, like, are you guys doing CMYK? Do you want me to shoot RGB, or like, what do you want?
Yeah. That was, I have been asked this and like would look for the answer and know the answer and then forget it. There was always a part in the print production process where I had to convert everything to RGB or CMYK, and I can never remember which one it was.
You have to, CMYK is print. You know, that's exactly, it's 4-color print process. So sometimes you'd shoot for that process if the color was that important. I think there's a, do you remember the time I showed you Capture One could show you what the words would look like in the layout as we shot it, and it like fucking blew your brain away?
Oh
You're like,
yeah,
I
that
could
was
see
cool.
this as it's happening. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
Emma.
that was cool. That was cool. Yeah, we often weren't that fancy, but that was nice.
No, no, but hey, man, your magazine had huge circulation. I mean, I just remember being a kid and going to Barnes and Noble out of boredom and just looking through all the magazines and just and thinking it was like the greatest thing in the world to see all these covers and all these books. And then for me to go through Barnes and Noble and have one of your magazines be a cover I shot was a really cool second. You know, I mean, I shot for other magazines, but it was just kind of cool to be like, we had like 4 or 5 covers. I mean, we were like fucking
Yeah,
pumping,
we
you and
were on
me.
a roll for a while there. We were.
Oh wow, he just did some quick math. 8 inches at 300 dpi. Yeah, but she's not doing 8 by 10. She's doing A4, right? You're doing, the magazine is A8 by 11 and a half, I think.
The magazine itself is, oh God, I don't remember now.
Yeah, it's getting tough now, huh?
Well, it's been over a year since I was there. I honestly forget. We just tell people like 300 DPI, 8 inches on the longer side of the photo. So whatever the longer side of the photo is, it's going to be at least 8 inches.
Yeah, honestly, it's almost irrelevant because everything is shooting at a resolution beyond that. So like you're kind of irrelevant at that point. I gave her 46 megapixel images, and I'm pretty sure there's a few times you're like, Seth, they're taking forever to download. I don't know why
Yeah.
that's out big.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we did appreciate like a lot of times the documentary style stuff, like don't send me like 50 high res photos. Send me 50 photos that are not high res, and like we'll use the ones we want for layout, and then like ask you for the 5 ones in high res that we want. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to download like a crazy ass Dropbox.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go to you guys in person to drop them off because you were right on the corner of Adorama.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You actually had how many times did the Adorama TV crew come and get lunch with you? Come on.
Yeah, that was unique though. I didn't have any other photos drop or any other photographers dropping off thumb drives.
Well, I just go that extra mile, you know. I just like to.
You were like right there. It was so easy. You're like literally down the block.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I like that job. I was like, I am not Dropboxing shit. Like, I'll walk down there with this hard drive. I am not doing this. And remember, you had interns coming to like pick up the Buddha heads and stuff, and then the statues, and I'd like, they were so nervous.
Were they?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
they were so young sometimes, and like, yeah, it was like, an intern.
Are you Seth? Emma told me to look for this guy with tattoos.
Well, you can be a little intimidating.
Oh, please, come on. Cool, Emma. Well, thanks so much for coming on here. I know you're not used to like doing this kind of stuff, but I really want the audience I got going on here to kind of see the other side of things, not just a bunch of photographers talking about lighting and shooting and whatever. It's where's it going? Who's hiring us? What are they looking for? What are they receiving? So I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no problem. I guess that would be my summation. Like, try to understand editorially what the shot is going to be used for.
Do you want them to follow you anywhere or?
Well, I mean, I would pitch the Progress Network, which is this media startup that is going to be launching probably in June or July. So keep your eye out for the Progress Network, but nothing is live yet, so can't have them follow anywhere. If you want to follow my pole dancing, it's EMZ_poles POLES on Instagram. Completely unrelated to this discussion.
It is completely unrelated, but she is amazing at it, and I had a lot of fun shooting with her. And then after I shot with her, the other pole people I was shooting, I was like, they kind of suck. I was like, they're not as graceful. She had all this like crazy ballet work. Like I really saw a difference in the styles. I didn't even realize that until I shot you with the first pole girl I ever shot. So like I didn't know. And then I quickly learned, I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of different when they're not so grandeur about it, you know?
Thanks.
But I'll probably be hitting you up with that media group. Be like, yo, you need some shots? What's up? I'll be like,
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that goes. That's sort of like yeah, we'll see.
Well, We wish you luck with it. I guess when it's launched, we'll come back on here. We'll talk about it and
Yeah.
maybe push around the link a little bit. And if you guys have any questions you want to relate to Emma, you can write them in the Discord. I'll relay them to her, and maybe she'll even join us there one day. You never know. I mean, she's not a photo nerd, but she always likes to hang out. She's chill.
My brother made me download Discord, so I actually know what that is. So that's a plus.
Oh, well, I have a server. You're welcome to join it. I'll send you an invite if you'd like.
I hope I was helpful to people, and I hope I didn't, say anything too harshly.
No. We love you, Emma. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow on Adorama's Facebook page. I'll be live again, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come hang out. Of course, I'll be live with Daniel again. And I'll be live with Joe soon, too, one of these days. So hang out. We will get you guys some more guests. Emma, you're the best. Thank you so much for coming on last minute. I hope you're safe and sound over there. And so is your family, I hope,
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, Seth.
No problem.